Welcome. I can see that we are around 23 participants. I want to request that we start, and the rest of the community members will join us as we move along. At this time, let me invite Winnie, who is going to take us through the first session. Winnie, you're welcome.
Thank you, Christine. I request Ken to share the slides. So, colleagues, you're most welcome to our second session of the Virtual Community of Practice, ECHO. And I would like to quickly run through the slides. Ken, next. So we have French and English services available for those of you who need to use the different languages. There is an interpretation icon in the form of a globe. Please use that to click to the preferred language. Next. Yes, and then we have our chat room. Please limit it to only what is relevant to the session today. If you have any Zoom problems, you can type ECHO IT, and Ken and other colleagues will be able to assist you. I request you to rename yourself using your name, full name, and organization, and ask you to keep your videos on if the bandwidth allows. The idea here is that this is supposed to be a community where we are interacting and we feel each other's presence. So we would encourage the videos to be on, but only if the bandwidth allows. For microphones, please keep them muted at all times unless you have been asked to speak. Next. So the session is being recorded, and we consider that because you are attending, you have consented to be recorded. The presentation slides and recording link will be shared by email after the session for all those that have come into the session. We expect to have a certificate of attendance at the end of this session, and before you receive it, you are required to fill in a short survey. So towards the end of the session, the organizers will provide a link in the chat to give you the access to the survey. Next. Here we are collecting information through registration, participation, the questions and answers, chat, and these are really to help us improve our program. So the data may be used for reports, communication, surveys, for quality assurance, evaluation, and to inform new initiatives. We have an attendance sheet, which one of the organizers will post in the chat. Please fill it in so that we know who has attended this session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Winnie. Thank you very much. And I want to request you to proceed and take us through the introductions of the different participants. Thank you.
Okay, so for today, given that last time in our first session, we were not able to have introductions, we would like to give an opportunity to 4 countries to introduce themselves by telling us their names, their professions, what they do at the institutions, and that will be for only 4 countries. So I'll call out a country, and if you are from that country, I'll ask you to speak. I noticed that you haven't renamed yourself because If you had, I would use the participant list to guide me. But for now, let us start with CDI, Côte d'Ivoire. Do we have anyone from Côte d'Ivoire?
Oui, il y a quelqu'un de la Côte d'Ivoire, il y a Monique, et bien il y a d'autres personnes encore.
Yes, there's Monique, and then there's some other people. Monique and Nkwasi. Nkwasing.
Sorry, Monique, there's background noise. I don't know why it's happening.
Oh, pourtant
Okay.
je suis seule. Hein. Non, non, moi je suis. Ça va mieux? Donc c'était chez vous là-bas alors.
Yes.
I think you are done with your introduction. Do we have anyone else from Côte d'Ivoire?
Yes. Yes. Il va se présenter. Nicolas, faut te présenter.
Bonsoir à tous.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the technical person dealing with the IT at the faculty within the University at Abidjan.
Right. Welcome, Nicholas.
Nicholas Nkwasing.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else from CDI?
Bon, normalement, il y avait 2 personnes, mais ils ne sont pas en ligne en ce moment.
Normally, we should have 2 other people, Professor Beng, and then another person, but unfortunately, they're not yet online. So we'll have to continue.
Okay, thank you very much, Monique. Can we go to Cameroon? Do we have anyone from Cameroon?
Bonjour, oui, je suis là.
Oh, yes, I'm there. Hello, good afternoon.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Yes, go ahead, Eliane.
Ok, bonjour. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Hello, good afternoon, she says.
Good afternoon.
Do I begin or it's Madame Yimta who's going to be the first?
Alors.
Let me begin.
Bonjour.
Good afternoon. I'm Yimta Fote. I'm a lecturer in the Faculty of Pharmacy at the University of Montaigne. Yes.
Thank you, Yimta.
Bonjour, moi je suis...
Merci.
Bonjour, moi je suis Etobe Eliane de l'Université
Hello, Etobe Eliane at the Catholic University of Yaoundé. I am the one who is coordinating e-learning in my university at the moment.
Merci, Eliane. Bienvenue.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you, Willie. Yes, I'm Haruna Njayo from Cameroon, country manager. I'm happy to be here. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Haruna. Anyone else from Cameroon? If there's no one, can we go to DRC?
No, actually, we're waiting the lecturer from University of Buea and University of Ngawumbere.
Is around? Is present?
No.
Okay.
Not
You'll
yet.
join later.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So DRC, can you go ahead? Anyone from DRC? Seems like the DRC people haven't arrived yet. So next is Ethiopia. Anyone from Ethiopia? Please introduce yourself.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Professor Berihu.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I am Berihu Gabrikiran, a country manager AFROHUN Ethiopia. My friend is calling to my friends and they are trying to log in. I have two friends from Ethiopia in Juma University, and I hope they will join. Thank you.
Thank you. So I see someone called Aminata. Is Aminata from West Africa, Senegal, CDI? Have you introduced yourself, or would you like to go? Seems not. They are muted. Okay, so that marks the end of our introductions for today. The rest of the countries will introduce themselves in the next session.
Aminata says that she doesn't have any sound. She doesn't know whether it's only at her level. Aminata has said that she doesn't have sound and she doesn't know whether it's only her, but
Ken,
otherwise she's there.
Okay. Ken, can you help with that?
Sure.
Okay. So let's go ahead to our next item on the agenda. What's that, Christian?
Okay, thank you, Winnie, for taking.
Deuxième point sur l'ordre du jour. Merci, Winnie, pour les présentations.
Thank you, Winnie. And of course, like, Bruce pasted in the chat room, we are building a community. We are a community that is going to be together for the next at least 1 year or so. So it is important for us to know each other. So this was a very important session, and the rest of the team members will introduce next time, as Winnie said. So allow me to invite Dr. Richard from Makerere University to take us through quickly the next session, which is a review of our agenda, and then we shall see what comes next. So Richard, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Christine. Greetings, colleagues. Good morning and good evening. So today our agenda is as follows. We shall have welcome remarks, which we have had now, and we have also had some introductions of participants, and we have done that. And now at this point, we are reviewing the agenda. Okay, but after that, we're going to have a case study presentation, the case for that day, and a subject matter expert will have input. Dr. Joseph Eompaji will give us a case study, and then Professor Jessica Aguti will be our subject matter expert for that day to discuss that topic at hand. Then at about 17 hours East African, 17:20 to 17:30 East African, we shall close. And so Christian and Winnie will handle the closing session. And today, the topic is about 21st century skills and how such come into blended and online learning. Actually, now that we're in the 21st century. So that will be our topic for that day, 21st century skills, and basically how they relate to e-learning. And I would like to hand over to Christine to run our brief poll about the expectations of our participants. What they expect, that's the topic. So what would you expect from that for this session today? Over to you, Christine.
Thank you, Richard. And without much ado, allow me to invite Timothy to take us through the poll on expectations. And I can see he has already pasted the link in the chat. So Timothy, do you want to speak to it, please?
Yeah, maybe just to ask members that there's a link in the chat. Please go and click on that link and use maybe 1 or 2 minutes to respond to it. It is just one question asking about your expectations. So you can enter as many expectations as you have, and then we move to the next session. I think we shall maybe display some of the responses, people's responses, and for briefly. So I would expect that maybe we shall spend a total of maybe 3 to 4 minutes on this. let me know if there's anyone who might be having problems accessing the link. Please let me know.
Okay, Timothy, how are we doing?
Timothy is speaking, but he's muted.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I think let me share my screen.
Okay, as Timothy shares his screen, please register. Please register. Go ahead, Timothy.
Okay, so basically, I think what we have had is mainly people are expecting issues to do with networking, then the meeting new friends, which is also networking. Oh, sorry, this. Then learning something new about e-learning, being able to manage the virtual delivery of. So I think it's basically about networking, learning new things. Maybe I'll ask the French. There's something there about in French which I can't actually.
The gentleman in French says that for the moment he is observing. For the moment he says he's observing. The gentleman in French says for the moment he's observing.
Then there is okay. Basically, it's getting to know about e-learning, manage. So it's mainly around the networking, making new friends, learning something new. From the French translation, what is unfortunately I can't. Okay, I think
what are the different articulations of a strategic plan, and what is its place in e-learning? What are the different components of a strategic plan for e-learning?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, everyone. Allow me to invite Richard once again to give us a broad view of what we are going to cover, but also introduce our case presenter and subject matter expert. Over to you, Richard.
Thank you so much, Christine, for that. Yes, colleagues, today our topic is 21st century skills. As we all know that we are now facilitating under a changed world, this 21st century, and many things have changed. So we can no longer facilitate learners today the way, for example, we were taught some years back, because the learners have changed. And so today the topic is about 21st century skills, and what our expectations or outcomes by the end of this session today, you should be able to explain that 21st century skills required for effective learning, because we don't want to use skills of the 20th century when we are dealing with learners of the 21st century. What are these skills required for effective learning? And another expectation is that by the end of this session, you should be able to relate 21st century skills to the online and blended learning modes of study. So that's what we expect by the end of this session. So before we go into module design for e-learning, first session of e-learning, what type of learner are we dealing with, and what type of should we be in the 21st century? So to take or to deliver this message effectively and share it effectively, we have two people. We have Dr. Joseph Mpaji. Dr. Mpaji is going to be our case study presenter. He's the Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences in Busitema University here in Uganda, with a vast experience in teaching and learning, and also medical or health sciences. So Dr. Mpaji, could you say hello to the colleagues, please? Dr. Mpaji, turn the video and say hello to the colleagues, then I introduce the subject matter expert.
Hello, hello.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's Dr. Mpaji. Thank you so much. Yeah, now our subject matter expert is Professor Jessica Nora Aguti. She's a professor of open distance and e-learning with experience of over 35 years in teaching and learning and open distance and e-learning, both in Africa and beyond Africa. She has worked, managed, taught, and planned programs in distance and e-learning. She's also a scholar of 21st century skills. So that's our subject matter expert, Professor Jessica Aguti. Please greet the community.
Hello, pleased to be here, and greetings to you all.
Thank you so much, Prof. Aguti. So we're going to have our case presented, and then after the case has been presented, we're going to welcome the community to make some comments. Then later, we shall have our subject matter expert make a brief comment on what the community is going to comment on the case. And then later, our subject matter expert will give us a presentation, more or less a comprehensive presentation, so that we see how we fit into the 21st century facilitation. So Christine, with your permission, allow me to invite Dr. Mpaji to present the case study.
Thank you.
Dr. Mpaji, over to you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Chair. I hope I'm audible.
You are audible. You're audible and visible.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, depending on the time zone you are in. My name is Dr. Mpaji. I'm a senior lecturer at Busitema University Faculty of Sciences and the Deputy Dean, and I'm also the case presenter, as Richard has mentioned. So colleagues, the case I'm present, Chair, I request that I'm allowed to screen share, that I can have control over my presentation. Thank you. Okay, so the case I'm going to present to this community is about really seeking guidance and input from this community of experts on how we can promote e-learning, teaching, online teaching and learning at Busitema University for category sciences. So this institution is a government-owned institution in Uganda, and and Uganda is found in East Africa. It was established in 2007 to contribute to socio-economic transformation of Uganda through science, technology, and innovations. This university has 7 science-based faculties, among which is the Faculty of Health Sciences, which was established in 2013. This institution, the Faculty of Health Sciences, presently is running 3 undergraduate programs in medicine, nursing, and anesthesia. All these programs are at a bachelor's level. It's also running 3 graduate programs in public health, internal medicine, and pediatrics. These are at a master's level. We have a total of over 450 students variously enrolled in these programs. Those programs I've shared. So what is the problem? What's the challenge at this institution? The challenge at this institution is that out of the 61 courses, only 12 have been uploaded and delivered using the learning management system. And unfortunately, even those 12 courses that have been taught using the learning management system, less than 50% could pass the quality assurance test of having the 21st century skills that meet today's learner. So, and as a consequence, some learners have ended up not using the online resources, complaining that the resources do not meet their study habits and lifestyles. So the challenge we have is we're asking ourselves, how can we have more lecturers to develop and deliver online courses? Those are the, how can we ensure that these online courses that have been developed, they pass the 21st century facilitation test? So those are the 2 challenges. One, ensuring that the lecturers can develop and deliver online courses is a challenge. The second challenge is having these online courses that pass the 21st century facilitation test is also a challenge. So the question we are posing to this community of experts is, how can we as administrators at this institution win over our lecturers to develop and implement online modules, moreover incorporating the 21st century skills? So what have we done to address this challenge? So we have spent enormous resources as an institution to train our staff in the development of the curriculum content, in development of curriculum content for online delivery. We have also trained our staff in uploading the developed courses onto the learning management system. We have also ensured that all staff and students have got accounts on the learning management system. We have also ensured that practically every department, academic department in the faculty has a Zoom license to enable teaching in real time, that it can complement the teaching via the learning management system. Unfortunately, what has happened is that this Zoom-based teaching has pushed the sidelines, the periphery, the teaching via the learning management system. So we have also trained students in the use of the learning management system in their learning, but also during the assessments. So what do we expect? What are we requesting from this community? We want to conduct a survey to establish the reasons learners and staff are not effectively using the learning management system. We also want to ensure that our staff are trained both in understanding, but also in incorporating the 21st century skills in their online modules. We also want to push the university management, the top university management, to include teaching using the learning management system as part of the lecturer's appraisal. This is done every year. So we want to ensure that that's one of the parameters that should be considered. So just summarize what I've been presenting to you, colleagues, in form of two questions. The first question, one, is how can the 21st century skills be incorporated into the online module design and facilitation at our institution? Second question is, how will the online modules that are impregnated with the 21st century skills promote the online teaching and learning at our institution? Thank you very much. That is what I wanted to present. Over to you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Ampaji, for that very comprehensive case. So that is the question. Those are the questions that are before us. And I would like to, I think we shall just take 5 minutes and get some responses from our colleagues. Please, if someone would wish to get maybe clarity about the case, maybe what has been done so far, or propose some kind of solution, we have about 5 minutes to do that so that we can catch up. So let me, first of all, I'm going to raise a request if someone can raise their hand and say something, but also I'll request Christine to tell me what's happening in the chat regarding this very issue. But if someone wants to comment on the case, maybe clarity, maybe proposals for how the challenge can be handled, please, you're welcome to raise your hand and speak out. Yes, please, Matt. Okay, you can enable Matt to unmute.
Yes.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Hi, everybody. I would just like to add, I think that, when I think about 21st century skills and online learning, that it's important to base those skills within an instructional design framework. And so that you're adding these tools to your learning management system for a specific reason. So just for example, we have been looking at utilizing the ARCS model here at UGHE. It's a motivational model. And because you've said that at least one of the challenges is making sure that students are participating in these online classes. And so it's important to think about ways that you can motivate the students within these learning management systems. And so that you can do certain things like make yourself more human within your learning, within your module, within your course. Maybe use humor, use videos of yourself, make sure there are a lot of discussions and chats and Zoom sessions so that you feel connected. And so, but anyway, that's just sort of some initial ideas and that might be employed to sort of answer the problem that was stated by the doctor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. So your presence, especially in a mixed media mode, okay? Your presence, say in the charts, and they will use some videos, Zoom blend is one of the suggestions that Matt has brought forward that they are using over there. Any other person that has an addition, a clarification? Yes, Tonisty.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Tonisty. We hear you.
Yes, please. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Tonisty Rutaisi. I'm from University of Rwanda. So we have been using online learning management system. I mean, e-learning platforms. But I'm a lecturer, but sometimes I work as a technician on those subjects. But the most challenges we have been facing when you look at on the level of lecturers, is about assessment, or let me call them activities. When you look at on developing courses, sometimes we develop PowerPoint, we develop other materials, but we forget to develop some assessment activities. But if you for those who have experience, you have seen that to upload the quizzes, whether you are using multiple choice or rubrics format, you have seen that it needs a lot of skills. And when you look at on the level of lecturers, it seems that few of them, they know how to develop those activities, whether use rubrics or other assessment tools. But what I want to say, we also need to invest much energy in developing those assessment or those activities, because you teach, but if you teach without assessing the student, I don't believe that the students cannot achieve or cannot get what they were targeting. So we also need to invest more energy in developing those activities for assessing our students, because they require more skills, and most of our teachers, they don't have.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank you so much. You have brought up the issue of skilling our staff, so that again we can cope with the. I've seen you are saying that combining facilitation with assessment within formative assessment probably is something important. But then to achieve that, we have to train our facilitators also to cope. And this is one, and I'm happy that today is one of the sessions we are skilling our facilitators. I think let me have one more question from Elaine, and then Christine summarizes what's from the chat, then we can transition over to the subject matter expert. Elaine?
Okay, bonsoir à tous et merci.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much. What I wanted to say regarding the internet, what has been presented, you're saying that e-learning, it's like it just came with during the COVID pandemic. But maybe that's where there are some challenges, especially with the lecturers and the students. But I think we should really consider e-learning right from the beginning. It should be part of it has been there as right from on distance learning. So if someone is doing a distance education, the person they're using e-learning, I think the lecturers and the students should be able also to use the blended learning, and should be of quality, especially when they're using blended learning. That's what I want to contribute. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elaine, for that. Again, it goes back to investment, like Fionesta has said, investment and training, so that we cope with the new changes. I think the trajectory went higher or steeper when COVID came, although this has been around for quite some time. Okay, Christian, is there any issue coming from the chat?
Not as
Christine?
yet. Yes,
all right.
Richard, not as yet. I think we can go with that for now.
Okay, they can keep coming in. So given the case presented and what our colleagues have said, I would like to give Professor Aguti just 1 minute to chip in a little on the case and what our colleagues have said. Professor Aguti?
Thanks, Richard. And thank you, Joseph, for sharing the case of what you're doing at Busitama University. Congratulations on the strides that you have made. What I see here is that really the challenges that Joseph has shared are challenges that are common in managing change. And unfortunately for us right now, the speed at which the change has to be managed in the COVID situation is pretty fast. And it's not allowing institutions to reflect on the strategies and on the interventions that are coming up. And so that is a big issue. But I would like to agree that training is a major step forward. which we really ought to be thinking about, and the idea of mainstreaming open distance and e-learning in teaching and learning, so that we are not taken unawares by perhaps other pandemics and other changes. So staff training is key, motivation of staff and students. And unfortunately, many times when we talk about motivation, people run to money, but there is motivation that is non-monetary. Even recognition, support to lecturers, support to students, acknowledging achievements and integrating their activities within the appraisal system and rewarding through that appraisal system is another way that we can actually utilize in terms of motivating staff. And then, of course, putting in place the right systems and structures. I also agree with the comment that assessment is key, because we all believe that, we all know that what is not assessed in educational settings is normally not learned. If students do not see assessment tagged to something, they're not going to spend energy on it. So I think there is a lot that Busitama has achieved, and a lot could still be done, but you are on the right track. And I believe that we can continue to support one another to move forward. Back to you, Richard. Since you gave me only 1 minute.
Yes, thank you so much. And I thank you for using that 1 minute, because then you have helped us to even the time. So thank you so much. Thank you, case study presenter. I think, Christine, let's just transition straight to the case, to the subject matter expert for a comprehensive discussion.
Yes, please.
Okay, so colleagues, I would like to once again, welcome Professor Aguti to give us a thorough, detailed paper on 21st century skills. Professor Aguti, maybe if you can go up to 5 o'clock, then we can have some 20 minutes for discussion with the community. So maybe 15 minutes you can present, then the other 20 we discuss with the community. Over to you, Professor Aguti.
Thank you very much, Richard, and thanks once again for having me on this platform today. Yes, I'm going to be sharing with us on 21st century skills and the tutor's role in blended learning. We are hoping that really at the end of this, we can all explain the 21st century skills that are required for effective learning, but also to relate this to both online and blended learning as we continue to reach out to students. So this is the outline of my presentation this evening or this afternoon. We'll talk about what the 21st century skills are. We'll talk about the learner of the 21st century and then facilitation and the tutor's role. And we'll link that to the online and the blended learning modes of study. So let me start with why is it important for us to really talk about the 21st century skills? Because of the numerous changes that have taken place in the marketplace, in the world of study, and in the technology that is being utilized, it's clearly evident that for students to succeed, first of all, as students, without even talking about the marketplace, they need the 21st century skills. And we know that in today's world, we need people who have learned how to learn, not learned how to pass exams, but learned how to learn. We need people that are independent thinkers, and we'll be seeing other attributes later on. So the 21st century skills help us learn how to learn and help us grow to become independent thinkers. And as I said, the world of work today requires a lot more, demands a lot more skills and competencies than simply knowing your engineering or your maths or your biology. There are other skills that the world of work requires, and the 21st century skills help equip all of us in being able to fit into the ever-changing world of work. And the marketplace, as I said, is operating differently today. So we cannot continue to train people to fit into the marketplace of the 18th and 20th and the 19th century, when the marketplace now requires different players. And if you want our graduates to have competitive advantage over others, then we've got to give them these additional competencies and these additional skills. And the beauty of it all is that it is possible, like Matt said earlier on, for us to inbuild this within the teaching and learning and the content that we are covering and growing some of the skills there. I found this statement by Brown Westling very interesting. She says, without skills, students are left to memorize facts, to recall details, and relegate their educational experience to passivity. In other words, they're just learning the facts and they're just passive learners. They have no role in the learning process. And without content, students may engage in problem solving, yes, and teamwork experiences that will fall into triviality. In other words, you need the content, but you need these other skills as well, because without the content, then it is a trivial engagement. It doesn't have any rigor to it. So I thought this was a very apt statement. Now I'd like us to go into mentee. And when we go into mentee, let me just stop sharing here. And then I post the link for the mentee exercise in the chat. I'm getting too many messages. Oops. I'm getting too many messages and they're interrupting my operations, but there is the link. I just want you to give one example of a 21st century skill that you think that a 21st century facilitator needs. What do you think that 21st century skill is? Follow the link and type that out. Let me share my screen and let's see whether there are any answers coming up. I don't see anyone in here. Okay, there we go. People are talking about teamwork, continuous learning, critical thinking. When it comes to French, I will invite Edith to tell us what that is. Online communication. There are only 4 responses so far. There are quite a number of us in the house, so we should be getting quite few more. Digital skills, computer use, collaboration, multitasking. Multitasking, that is an interesting one. Being able to do a number of things at the same time. Creativity, yes. If we can get a few more. We're not having repeats, so the word cloud is not indicating which one is more common. All right, communication, connections, making connections. No wonder people today we are talking about, you know, networking and making connections. So these are some of the skills that you know you have identified as this team, and communication seems to be taking a more central place in this. Quite a number of people are talking about communication, and that is certainly very critical. And the issue of continuous learning. There used to be a time when people believed that, you know, once you finished your degree, you're done. But learning has to be lifelong. Learning has to be continuous. So yes, there are quite a number of these. I'll give you a minute or so to continue, but let me stop sharing and move on to the next slides. So, you know, I like this diagram. It blocks the skills, the 21st century skills that our students require into 3 different categories. Talks about learning skills, literacy skills, and life skills. And for learning skills, here we are talking about critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. And then for life skills, flexibility, leadership, are we adaptable, and so on and so forth. The time is running very fast, but this statement by Stoffer is an interesting one, which speaks into the health sciences. And I'm not sure whether this is a he or a she. I didn't look up, I'm sorry. He says, arguably, critical thinking is the most important quality for someone to have in the health sciences. I think I would love to be seen by a doctor, to be attended to by a nurse, to be attended to by an anesthetist that can think critically, that can, you know, reflect on things and think through and come up with the right strategy or right solution. But these are some of the skills as identified here. And there is another framework here, which is also quite interesting. But this framework now gives us the 21st century skills in 3 different areas. Talks about foundational literacies. Richard talked about me having been in service for about 35 years or so. And so I'm fairly ancient. And in our day, when we went to school, it was just important for you to know how to read, how to write. You know, that was basic, and how to count. The 3 literacies, reading, writing, and numeracy. But now there are so many other literacies. Financial literacy, how do you manage your finances as an individual, as a family, as an institution? And there are a lot of examples of people who make heaps of money, but you don't see where the money is going because they lack financial literacy. And then cultural and civic literacy, understanding other communities, understanding how to relate with others. And then the competencies, the critical thinking that we were talking about in the word cloud, the creativity, communication, and collaboration. These are the 4 C's that are emphasized in terms of competencies. And then character qualities. Many times the educational systems are churning out people that have got the content, but they have no character. And if you do not have character, you cannot advance in your career. You cannot advance in life. And these are some of the qualities that are identified as key as part of the 21st century skills, which speak to character qualities. Now, as people who are training others, who are working in educational setting, we should always remember to keep Bloom's taxonomy in mind. There is a meeting point between what Bloom's taxonomy talks about and what the 21st century skills are emphasizing. Bloom's taxonomy and the 21st century skills meet up somewhere at the higher level of Bloom's taxonomy. When you talk about creating, there is an element of creativity and innovativeness that is required there. When you talk about evaluating and analyzing, there is an element of critical thinking and problem solving that are involved in there. So, and when we talk about understanding and remembering things, it speaks to us probably understanding concepts, understanding the environment within which we live. So there is a meeting point. And when we are constructing our programs, when we are articulating our learning outcomes, we've got to work within this. There are other taxonomists, but I love working with Bloom's taxonomy because it's a very easy and simple and well-utilized taxonomy. Now, as far as the learners are concerned, I found this image as speaking volumes with regard to the type of learner that we should have in the 21st century. In some instances, this type of learners exist. In others, we have to cultivate this type of learners. Because if we, on my left-hand side, if we have investigative explorers, the type of tasks you are giving them are allowing students to investigate, to be problem solvers. You are giving them opportunity to work in groups, to become communicators. You're giving them tasks, authentic tasks, like Richard was talking about and Joseph was talking about, that will produce critical thinkers. If we have resourceful learners, versatile learners, they are willing to learn using different media, different technologies, in different environments. Like we were talking about using multiple avenues to reach out to students, then you have versatile learners. Ultimately, you're going to produce people who can survive and advance in their careers because they're adaptive, they're problem solvers, they can communicate, they can collaborate, and they have digital literacy, digital fluency. So this is kind of like captures what the 21st century learner would be. But this is within a setting where we have deficiencies in our schooling system, which is oftentimes highly examination oriented. We are teaching to the grade, and we are promoting rote learning and focusing so much teacher-centeredness. And the curriculum is in some cases obsolete or even inadequate. And there's very little exposure and experience with ICTs. This is the setting within which many of us are operating, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. So what does that imply? It implies that we need to revisit how we organize our curriculum, how we teach that curriculum, and how we assess. If we don't reflect on that, then we have issues. So how do we do this? We have to allow students to take charge of their learning. We have to work with more learner-centeredness, more student-centered approaches to learning, and creating an environment that allows for inquiry. Unlike an environment where we are forever telling students, please, when I'm talking, I don't want to hear anyone else. You keep your questions to yourself. If you don't understand, you can go and look it up later on. And students are tied into this corner where they cannot dare think, they cannot dare reflect, but they simply want to absorb what you're giving and then regurgitate it to give it back to you in an exam. Sorry to use that ugly word. But that is what happened when we do not create inquiry-based learning environments, creating opportunities for collaborative learning, group work. How do we create those tasks and assignments that involve teamwork, peer teaching, peer support, and so forth, creating problems for students to solve real life situations, and working with assessment that goes beyond recalling facts, but is operating at the higher level of the Bloom's taxonomy that we were talking about earlier. And when this happens, then we have global awareness. You know, this become the outcomes of that process, where there is which is vibrant, civic literacy and health literacy. And it's interesting that they're talking about health literacy as one of the outcomes, because in today's environment, why is COVID not going away? Some of it is because we have failed to adhere to the guidelines that we are given. Environmental literacy, and how we are ruining the environment because we do not understand that when you cut down a tree, you're creating deficiencies for yourself. scenarios and set guiding questions that will allow learners to reflect, to think through, to debate, to question, to integrate, to become part of the learning process. And for effective communication, we've got to create those group tasks, those group activities that allow students to speak to one another, to interrogate one another's viewpoints, but respecting each other, encouraging students to respect different viewpoints, but you as a tutor are also providing the relevant and timely feedback. One of our biggest challenges with the LMS environment is that many of us as tutors are absent on the LMS. We put the content there and disappear, and therefore we're not providing the timely feedback, we're not providing the timely support. If we are to promote independent learning, then yes, you have to have high quality learning materials, but we must build motivation. What are the scaffolds that we are building into the learning process to motivate learners to proceed, to motivate learners to engage with one another, to motivate learners to engage with the content? And you cannot lecture communication, you cannot lecture independent learning. It comes out of the activities that we are giving learners to engage with. And then effective collaboration is the same thing, creating groups, setting rubrics, clear activities in the chat, in the discussion forums, and moderating that work, being present, and again, promoting respect and support for each other. And for critical thinking, we've got to set tasks that support analysis and critiquing of scenarios, of solving problems, real life situations, giving opportunity to learners to question what they are going through. That way we'll be cultivating the skills. We cannot provide a lecture on this is how you critically think. It's like riding a bicycle. However much you read about it, unless you get onto the bicycle yourself and try to pedal and try to balance, you cannot learn how to ride a bicycle, or neither can you learn how to drive a have to be an adapter yourself. You have to be a learner. We cannot forever keep going into the classroom and saying, I am the authority in this subject. You are a learner. You should be a visionary and a collaborator. And we've got to take risks by bringing students into our classrooms. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my last slide. But I would like to leave us with this statement. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence itself, but it is to act with yesterday's logic. So we cannot afford to sit back and forget about integrating the 21st century skills when there is a turbulence that requires that we think with a different logic and not with yesterday's logic. Back to you, Richard.
Thank you so much, Professor Aguti. Indeed, when we have the current storm, we cannot think with yesterday's logic. We may not overcome the storm. Thank you so much. So, colleagues, we can have a few, say, 5-6 minutes of discussion. If you something you want to comment on the case, clarity, one subject matter expert comment on certain items, we shall take off some 5 minutes of questions. Then we shall hand over the subject matter expert to conclude and how to respond to some of the issues that come up. Yes, Elaine. Elaine, then Elaine. So there are two. Sure. Yes, please. Go on. Alain.
Merci pour la parole. C'est Alain Tchasouma de l'Université de Lubumbashi, la faculté de médecine vétérinaire. En fait, par rapport aux termes que nous invoquons pour le cours en ligne, je crois que ça reste beaucoup plus théorique. Parce que si nous pouvons tenir compte des travaux pratiques et tout ce que les étudiants peuvent faire au labo et tout ça, je pense avec le cours en ligne, ça va encore poser des problèmes. Parce que là, nous parlons de collaboration, nous parlons de communication, nous parlons de tout ce que nous évoquons là. Mais l'aspect pratique n'est pas beaucoup plus abordé en ligne. Je ne sais pas qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire.
It's not yet well done when we are learning how to teach online. I don't know if we could have both the theory and the practical as we are learning as a community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It was a suggestion that we incorporate the practical together with the theory. Thank you for that. Elaine?
Ok, merci de me passer la parole. Moi, je vais revenir sur
Thank you for giving me the floor. I want to come back to the tutorial. Madame Aguti said that it won't be good to put all the lessons online and then disappear, that you should be undertaking the tutorials at the same time. But I think for that, they should develop with a support to, because if you see the lecturer with all the color, the classes is supposed to be possible, we should develop a psychoactive.
To come in. Yes, Dr. Ampaji.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Professor, for that nice presentation. The 21st century classroom, the typical one, you are teaching students when they are having their mobile phones, iPads, trying to check up sometimes what you are teaching, verifying on the internet. Sometimes that makes the teacher and some teachers uncomfortable. So I'm wondering, how can we harness that? They are equipped with the gadgets, with their information is in hand, on their fingertips, but you are teaching. So how do you harness that situation to ensure more effective learning takes place?
Thank you so much. How do you hold your phone them, and it seems to study more comfortably when they are multitasking. That would be effective.
Now I request that Prof goes ahead to respond to the comments as we wait to see in the chat room. Thank you.
All right, so Prof. Aguti could please comment about those. And also, maybe what you can talk about, Professor Aguti, is because I know you are a seasoned educationist. Why is it important that we have theoretical background to any practical issue? Why shouldn't we just go into the practical today and say, click here, click there, click there? Why must we go into the didactic talk? Professor Aguti?
Okay, thanks, Richard. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your very great response to the presentation. Yes, this has been more of theory because we are focusing, we needed to understand what are the 21st century skills. And we needed to understand what is my role in it all. And then when that is clear, that addresses Richard's question. Then we can say, all right, now you have the 21st century skills. You're teaching anatomy, you're teaching biology, you're teaching biochemistry. And this is what we have said you could do for you to ensure the students grasp the 21st century skills. Then you can move to the practical, but with a firm theoretical foundation. And maybe in later sessions, I don't know, the community, I believe the leadership of the community can determine whether the next session will be practical or otherwise. But today, I just needed to really cover that. Then the idea of having a tutorial system. This is a fantastic idea. It is something that has worked in many distance learning programs across the globe, where you have a subject matter expert, a lecturer that is working with a host of tutors that directly support students. But the lecturer needs to create that opportunity for that interaction to take place. And that's why when you're designing the learning materials, you design the learning materials with the viewpoint that this aspect will be covered with the tutors. This aspect will be covered in group work. This aspect and so will moderate the group work. You've got to see that planned out right from the beginning. But if you post your learning, your teaching notes online, and then you are telling the tutor, go and support the learners. How? What do you want me to do with the learners? What task am I supposed to moderate? What questions am I supposed to ask? What questions am I supposed to answer? That has got to be put into consideration right from the beginning when you are designing your learning materials. And that's why this whole issue of instructional design, right from the beginning to the end, to the assessment and post-assessment comes into play. And how do you harness the energies that the students have and their interest in working with their gadgets? You set the activities that tell them, go into the WhatsApp group and discuss ABCD and come back to the classroom. That's why now we are talking about flipping the classroom. You know, you say, okay, you have your gadgets. During your free time, go watch this video. These are the questions. Come back into the classroom or go into the learning management system and answer these questions. So you can take advantage of the gadgets that they have, but you need to know what gadgets do they have and what capacities do those gadgets have, so that when you set the activities, you are setting them knowing fully well what the students will be able to do with the technologies that they have in their hands. Richard?
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. Aguti, for that. I think, Christine, do you have anything coming out of the chat there? Any supplements, any compliments, any questions?
Not, but I request that we move on because of time, especially the fact that we have a survey to take, but also assure colleagues that we shall continue to take in comments as we shall be discussing later on the other platform, but nothing much as yet.
Okay, thank you so much. So I would like to thank Professor Jessica Nora Aguti for presenting to us and sharing with us. We shall be with you. There's a platform called Slack where we're going to be, we shall continue sharing. And I thank Dr. Joseph Mpaji for the successful case presentation, and anything that we need to add on, Dr. Mpaji shall continue communicating again in Slack. So let me thank you, the audience and our community, for your active participation. So let me hand back to Christine. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Richard, and thank you, Professor Aguti and Dr. Joseph, but also our participants. As we get closer to the end of our session today, we have a survey that we want you to take. It's a quick one, and I think Winnie talked about it at the very start. And as you take this survey, I will also take us through a few announcements. And after 5 minutes, Winnie will come and take us through the wrap up. Otherwise, once again, thank you, colleagues. This has been very interactive, very interesting. So please click the link and take the survey. It's very important. Okay, thank you. And anybody who has not registered, please also click the link for registration and register so that we know who attended with us. That is very important. So as you take the survey, take us through some quick announcements. Once again, we thank you for your time, for being very participating actively. This was very interesting. So our next session is going to be the last Wednesday of September, but we are going to communicate on email, and we should also be able to communicate to you the next session, the next topic that we are going to cover in the third session. Richard has just talked about we have a Slack platform for the community members. And last time we shared with you like a step-by-step on how to access that Slack. In case you have not logged onto Slack, of course, we have quite a number of people on Slack, but if you have not accessed, feel free to write back to me, Christine and Winnie. We should be able to guide you through how to join Slack. The advantages of being on Slack, we share quite a number of materials, including the YouTube recording like this one, and the previous ones, you find them there, the presentation slides and other articles that you can read and take your skill. I implore us to join, for it is extremely helpful for us as a community. But I should also mention that the materials that we are talking about, we are also going to share them on email, and we have been sharing them on email. So in case you don't want to join Slack, it is still okay. You can access some of the materials on email, but of course there are more onto Slack. I hope we are all taking our survey, and let me give us another 2 minutes, and after that, I'm going to invite Winnie to take us through the wrap-up and the closing. Otherwise, we are really grateful. Thank you for your participation. So 2 minutes, 2 more minutes, colleagues, to finish the survey, and Winnie will take us through the wrap-up. Okay. So allow me to invite Winnie to take us through the wrap-up. And in case you have not finished the post-session survey, continue to fill in the survey. It is still going to be available at least up to 5:30, but for now, allow me to invite Winnie to take us through the wrap-up, and we close. Thank you.